Hello and welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be going in and seeing how exactly can we integrate Soccer.io into our chat application so that we can get that real-time communication. Because so far the problem that we're facing is even though we are able to send messages and the user is also able to receive the message, the both of them, okay, the user who's sending as well as the one who's going to receive, will have to refresh the web page so that the message is shown to the person who's receiving it. So in order to go in and basically take care of the small situation, we are going to be going in and utilizing this particular library called soccer.io. This is one of the go-to libraries when it comes to creating chat applications or any feature that is related to chats, real-time chats. And it's fairly easy to go in and integrate as well. So if you're unfamiliar with this particular library, the documentation is pretty well sorted, but still though, I'll take you through the whole process that you have to follow in order to do the integration. So first and foremost, I'm going to directly head on to the documentation here. You can read up the integration on what this does. So it's a library that enables low latency, bidirectional, event-based communication. So this event is going to be something that we are going to be taking advantage of. So we're going to be creating events for basically a person joining into a particular, joining into or starting this particular application, whether he is sending in a message and all of that. So if he is adding into a chat, if he clicks on a chat, we need to go in and create a group or a room with those particular set of people. So that's kind of something that we'll have to go and pull through so as to integrate Socket.io into our application. Okay. So in order to go in and get started, you can give it a thorough read, a few things here and there. The thing to go and know over here is we have to go in and integrate Socket.io on both our backend as well as our front end. Okay, so both on our client as well as the server. So in our server, the very first thing you'll have to do is to get this particular package installed. So all you need to do is to just go in and run the command npm install Socket.io in your server. And once that is done, you will be ready to go in and initialize everything in your backend. So the initialization process kind of goes out in this particular manner here. I'm going to scroll all the way down for the express implementation. So there you go. So this is how we can go in and initialize our socket.io connection. So this is going to be the connection event here. So on is a method. I'll take you through with that in a second. So this is the connection event. And as you can see, we will be requiring to go in and create up a server first. Okay, so here they're creating up a server by instantiating the server. We've already have a server listening to a particular port. So we are just going to go in and take it into a variable and then use it on so that we can integrate this particular, library. Okay, so it's fairly easy to go in and integrate as well. So I'm just going to take you to my VS Code back here. And as you can see, this is the whole process. So, we are going in and connecting to our database. Once all of that process is over, here comes the main part. Okay, so we had directly gone in and we had said, okay, so we're going to be going and listening to this particular port. All in all, that is great altogether. But this is where we are integrating our socket.io library into our backend. Okay, so right down from this point onwards, we are going in and defining a bunch of events over here. So I have 3 events set up, but before that, the very first event that we need to go in for is going to be the connection event. So this is the part where we are establishing a connection with our socket.io. So in order to do this, what I've done over here is I've taken on the server instead of this variable, and you can directly go in and pass in this set of information. So what is the server, and then some additional information in terms of cross origins. Of course, I've set the origin as to enable access from almost everywhere. If you want, you can specify the front end. If you can specify if you're working on a local environment, you can specify the URL here. I've added in stars so that it can be accessed from anywhere and anywhere out. And then we have the ping timeout, so it's going to be waiting in for a total of 60 seconds. So this is in milliseconds before the connection closes out. So this is what, this is kind of the point where the initialization is going to happen. And we'll be firing this connection event. This is the event. So on is the method, this is the go-to method, I would say, when we want to go in and fire up any events. Okay, so if you want to be listening to any of these events, so there are two things we are going to be majorly doing. We are going to be listening to events, okay, by using the on method. And if you want to emit methods or emit certain events, we are going to be using the emit function to go in and do so. So this is something we're going to be doing a lot in our front end, and in our back end, we're going to be listening to these events, right? So taking you back into my into the events that I set up. So this is the initial setup where anytime a user goes in and joins, this is something that I have added into my front end as well. So at any point of time, the user goes in and joins, then my socket is going to go in and emit this connected event, and every time the chat is going to go in and get created out, so the person is part of the chat, that particular user is going to be going in and joining a particular room. Okay, so this is something we'll be adding onto our front end as well. Now this is the main thing that we are here for. The event which is going to be fired anytime a new message is going to go in and get sent. Okay, now the idea here is that anytime a new message is sent, we have to do one thing here, which is to go in and compare the set of messages that we already have and the updated set of messages that is that we'll be having from our database. Okay, so we'll be comparing both of those, and if there is a difference, if they both of them are not same, right, then in that particular instance we can go in and send in the message or update in the component. So that's kind of what we'll be doing. Now into our front end, now coming down to a front end, so this is all we'll have to go in and set up. Okay, now coming down to a front end, this is where the majority of the integration comes in. Now for your front end, you will have to go in and install an additional library. So the first installation was for the backend. The second installation that you'll have to do is going to be for the client, which can be fairly done by using which can be done by using this particular command, which is npm install socket.io-client. And by using this particular command, you'll be able to install the client version of socket.io, which you'll be using within your React application. Okay, and then when it comes down to the overall implementation part, this is gonna be what we'll be going in and doing. So the very first thing we're gonna do is we'll be importing our IO from socket.io client, and then from that point onwards we can go in and emit events and listen to certain events occurring, such that we can fire certain operations in accordance with that. All right, so let me just directly go in and take you to the chat area component of mine, where the majority of the operations is going to go in and take place. So the very first thing that we'll have to go in and do is connecting down to a socket. Okay, so my endpoint for the time being, as it's running in on a local point, is gonna be for that of, there you go. So my local endpoint is 8080. So this is the port in which my backend is running. So this is the very first thing that we'll have to do. So the moment this chat area component goes in and loads up, it is gonna go in and emit the setup event, which will go in and ensure that the person is going in and joining onto a particular room. Now the room that the person will be joining in is going to be dependent on his user ID. Okay, so I'm going to be providing the user ID over here, and by going in and using the join method over here, we can go in and get the person joined onto this server of ours. Okay, now once that is done, I'll be able to go in and, like, this is for the initial part altogether. Okay, this is the part where we're connecting onto the socket, and then comes in the point where we have to go in and join to a particular chat. Okay, so this is a use effect in which all of the messages are being fetched. Okay, this is the same use effect where the all messages route that we had created is getting invoked. So all the messages for that particular chat is gonna go in and get loaded. So the idea is that from the sidebar, okay, so I have a sidebar. If I click on the sidebar, it is gonna go in and basically re-render the chat area component. So every time that happens, so if I click on the sidebar for any particular chat, the user, whichever user is currently logged in as, he will go in and join onto a particular room. And in order to join to the particular room, I have an event created called as the join chat event, which is the same event as you can see in here. Okay, so what this will do is it is going to go in and join onto this particular room. The user that we have will be going in and joining onto this particular room of ours, right? So I'm passing in the chat ID, which is going to be taken in over here, and he'll go in and join onto that room. Now, this is all in all pretty easy because of that particular chat ID. Two people who are part of a particular conversation will be joining onto the same room. Okay, so there's going to be a room that's going to get created, and as the chat area runs on a particular chat ID, both of them will go in and join onto the same room. So that's why this join chat event is kind of a pretty important, process or step that we need to implement. So make sure you go in and you do this once the messages are getting fetched onto whichever component that you are displaying all of your messages in. So I'm displaying all of the messages inside of the chat area component, and the chat area component, when it goes in and loads, it will go in and make a call to my all messages route over here, which in turn, which is this one, right? The all messages route. This particular route is going to be responsible to go in and send all of the messages that are part of that particular chat. Okay, so once this goes over, we are all set. So we have two people who have connected onto the same chat, room. And now what we can do is anytime a message is sent, okay, so this send message is the function which is going to get invoked anytime a message is sent. So once the message is sent, we are going to emit this new message event. This is the important part over here, right? So the new message event is going to go in and get fired. I still am yet to go in and implement this connection starter, which is just to ensure that the conversation doesn't start until the socket connection is going in and coming through. So once the socket connection goes through, we can allow the people to go in and start the conversation, right? So we can go in and do that by basically using a bit more of conditional rendering. I'm yet to go in and integrate that into the code for the time being, but we still will be able to go in and get the real-time chat feature right down in our application by basically making sure that we have these three events taken care of. These three are the main events that we want. First is to make sure that the user goes in and connects onto our socket.io rooms. Second one will be for joining in the room, and the third one will be for firing up the message. Okay, so once that goes through, once that goes through, we are going in and doing one more check over here, and that is that anytime a new message event is emitted, we are going to go in and check for one thing here, and that is that if the message that has been sent, okay, so there's going to be a new message that's going to be sent. If the new message that has been sent is from the user himself, if I send the message, I am the sender, then I need not go in and fire this particular event, right? I need not go in and send back any response. But if I am not the sender, right, then this particular condition is not going to match, right? And I'll be going in and sending back another event. So I'm going to be emitting the same message received event over here from a backend, so that I'll be able to go in and fetch in the same information up over here. So this is the message received event which is firing in from my backend. So my backend fires, or it emits this particular event which is message received, and in response to that, we are just going in and checking if the previous set of messages that we have and the new set of messages that we received from a backend are same or not. If they are not same, okay, they're not same, in that particular sense, we are going to go in and update the all messages array that we have in our front end and update all of the messages altogether. So even though the setup, in order to integrate socket.io, the main set of steps is all about creating in those events and listening and emitting the events in the right instances or in the right places. So that's all the integration that you'll have to go in and do. So three main events, and we've integrated the same events. We've listened to the same events and emitted the same events from our front end as well. Okay, so once this goes through, we should have a proper working version of our chat application which also supports real-time communication. Okay, so let's just go in and see how if this goes in and works. And so I kind of have done the same exact thing. So I have two browsers open up over here on to my left and to the right hand side. I'm going to use the same credentials as the last time, which is for user one. So I'm going to set the password as login. So let me put in the password over here. So there you go. So I do have the same message that I sent in the last time. So that is there within our database. So it's pretty good. And I'm going to sign in the second user as well. So signing in the second user, and I'm going to click on don't save. So we are back at the same point here back again. In the previous video as well, we were at the same point where we were able to send in messages, but the problem was that we had to refresh the page in the receiver so as to see the message. But now as we've implemented out these set of our socket.io events and listeners, hopefully we would be able to go in and get our real-time communication. So I'm going to send in a message from user 2 to user 1. So I'm going to go in and say, hi, I'm going to click enter, and there you go. You can see the message pops up in the same instance in user 1. So for user 1, I can see it shows up hi over here. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to click on over here, and you can see the same message pops up in user 2. So we have real-time communication available over here. Now, let's also try this out for our group chats maybe, right? So I'm going to open up a new terminal over here because the group chat, so I want more than 3 people over here, right? At least 3 people. So I'm going to create one more user here. Let me call him as user 3. user3@email.com. Okay, it doesn't exist, but it's fine. Let's give him a password and sign him up as well. Okay, I'm going to click on don't save. And let's just check. Okay, so yeah, user 3 is kind of now part of it. Now, what I want to do is I want to go in and make a group. So user 1 is going to make a group, and user 2 over here, and user 3 is going to join that group. Okay, so I'm going to create up a group over here. Let's call it as test group number 1. Okay, so I'm going to go in and click on this. It's going to ask me for whether you agree as and such. Okay, I'm going to click on yes. And there you go. So test group 1 is now part of user 1's conversation. Okay, so this is user 1. User 1's conversation, we have test group 1 as he's part of it. So I'm going to open this up. And let's also get our user 2 and user 3 to join up on those particular groups. So this is my user 2, and I'm making user 2 to join on the group. And there you go. So user 2 is also part of the group now. Let's get user 3 in on the group as well. And user 3 is also part of the group. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make user 1 to send in a message. Hi, everyone. I'm going to click on enter. And as you can see, user 2 got the message from user 1. This is user 3. Okay, so user 3 got in the message from user 1. And so did user 2. Now I'm going to send in message over here. Hi, so user 2 is going to send in a message here. So user 2's message is received by user 1 as well as by user 3. And now for user 3, glad to meet all of you. Even though every single person is me, it's fine. Okay, so as you can see, we have live communication, real-time communication, all courtesy of this library called as socket.io. Okay, so this is all in terms of our series where we're creating up our real-time chat application, which is live chat altogether. And that's it. That's kind of the overall process, I would say. We have come a long way. I would say we've started on small with front end. We slowly went into back end, integrated everything, brought in back end and front end together. And also right now we have real-time chat capabilities. Okay, now the next step to go in and do would be to basically just go in and deploy this particular application in the internet so that you can do the same exact thing as we're doing it right now via the internet. There are several services that you can use for this. There's Vercel, Heroku, and so much more. Regardless of all of that, every single hosting provider kind of works in the same manner. So whichever one you feel like would be the one that suits you, you can go in and deploy the same in any of those hosting providers. Okay, we'll be making the code available in the description down below. So if you want to go in and check it out, please do feel free to do so. So that would be all from my side. And for the last time, thank you.